Waitress helps elderly disabled man. The next day, his billionaire son shows up at her house. The bell above the diner's door jingled softly as Emily wiped her hands on her apron. It was late afternoon, the lull between lunch and dinner, when most of the booths sat empty. That's when she saw him, a frail elderly man in a weathered coat, struggling to push his wheelchair over the threshold. Emily hurried over. "Here, let me help you, sir," she said, gently guiding his chair inside. His hands trembled slightly as he gave her a grateful nod. "Thank you, dear," he murmured, his voice weak but kind. She led him to a table near the window, where the sun cast a golden glow over his lined face. His clothes were neat but old, his shoes worn. Something about him tugged at her heart. "What can I get for you?" she asked. He hesitated. "Just a coffee." Emily knew that look, the one that said he didn't want to be a burden, that he might not even have enough for a full meal. She smiled. "How about a nice bowl of homemade soup on the house?" His eyes widened. "I couldn't possibly." "It's already made," she insisted. "Besides, I hate seeing good food go to waste." Tears welled up in his eyes, but he blinked them away. "You have a kind heart, young lady." As she brought his meal, they chatted. His name was Walter. He'd been a schoolteacher for 40 years, but life had taken a hard turn after his stroke. His only family, a son, was always too busy to visit. Emily listened with genuine interest, refilling his coffee and making sure he was comfortable. When he was done, she slipped a few pastries into a bag and handed it to him. "For later," she said with a wink. Walter looked at her, as if memorizing her face. "You've given me more kindness today than I've had in years," he whispered. She patted his hand. "Come back anytime." The next morning, as Emily was getting ready for another shift, a knock echoed through her small apartment. She opened the door, and nearly dropped her coffee. A tall, sharply dressed man stood before her, his piercing blue eyes locked onto hers. A black luxury car idled behind him. "Are you Emily?" he asked. She hesitated. "Yes." He extended his hand. "I'm Daniel Carter. Walter's son." Emily's stomach clenched. Had something happened? "Is he okay?" Daniel's gaze softened. "He's more than okay, thanks to you. He told me about your kindness. And he ran a hand through his hair. I needed to meet the person who reminded me what really matters." Emily blinked. This billionaire, this man who had everything, was standing on her doorstep, looking more lost than she'd expected. "My father and we weren't close. I was too busy building my company, chasing success. I didn't realize how lonely he'd become." His voice thickened. "Your kindness made me see what I've been missing." Emily's heart ached for him. "It's never too late." Daniel nodded. "I know. And I want to start by honoring the kindness you showed him." He reached in.